All right, so we are live. Welcome to another Run Wild with Us, Ask Us Anything. I'm Lisa Kastner. I'm the founder and executive editor of Running Wild and RIZE presses, and I'm here with you on Thursdays between Thursdays between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time and 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we're basically here to answer any old questions that you may have. You can ask us about, I don't know, whatever you want. It's all good. That's why we're here. And we've been doing this now. Oh my gosh. I want to say we have been doing this for at least 2 years, maybe more, maybe like 3. Anyway, either way, like I said, we basically will answer any questions that you have. And all you have to do is go to the comment section of whatever venue you are watching this, or from wherever you're watching this. It could be YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we're more than happy to answer your questions. Now, I know for a fact that Ben is running late today, so he may join us late, or he may not be able to make it. Either way, it's all good. If you have questions specifically for Ben, then that's very cool, actually, because what we can do is we can field them next time. Caroline says, good afternoon, early evening, dear Lisa. Good afternoon, early evening to you too, Caroline. As always, it's fabulous to see you. Rod says, hey, I thought I'd keep you company till someone shows up. Well, that's pretty nice of you there, Rod. Really, really, really appreciate it. So it was so fabulous last week. We actually got Peter. We hadn't seen Peter in ages. So it was very fun to have a chance to do one of these again with the infamous Peter, one of our amazing acquisition editors and editor at large. Rod Gilly says, have you ever heard of the coffee shop exercise? Actually, I have not. I do know quite a few people who will go to a coffee shop, and specifically because it helps them focus. They're not in their normal venue, and that way it enables them to really kind of, instead of, paying more so attention to the world around them and, their families and so on, it allows them to really just focus on their computer in front of them, or their notebook, or whatever it is that they may be using to write with. Caroline says, tell us about your week. My week actually was really interesting, at least, to me. So this week, we're on the second round of edits for a really fun fantasy novel that I'm really looking forward to diving into again once the author's done with her round of edits. I actually had the distinct pleasure to submit several of our books for the National Book Award. I really wish we could send in everybody, all of our books in for the National Book Award, because I think all of them actually deserve that kind of attention. That said, with various limitations, we actually submitted 13 Tunnels by Suzanne Samples, Dispossessed. I'm obviously going right off the top of my head. Crooked Out of Compton by Ron Dowell. How We Were Before by Agatha Cecile. Pocket Full of Teeth by Amy Hardy. Wolf Boy by David Fitzpatrick. And we also did send in Family Pack, which I had written. And admittedly, I did send Family Pack because it is one of my personal dreams to have a book named a National Book Award, if not nominee, then winner by, obviously, the National Book Award organization. So I'm actually really excited about all of the entries because I really believe they all have a fair chance at minimally becoming finalists, if not winners. So fingers crossed. Rod says, in this case, I use it with writers. I ask them to act like I'm one of their pals and we meet in a coffee shop. At a point in the chat, I casually ask, as most friends would, hey, tell me about the book you're working on. The exercise is better written than spoken, as many spoken conversations, we sort of miss hearing parts. So if the writer answers written, I get the whole description. Oh, that's kind of neat. Cool. It really helps get the thoughts and goals of the author about their books. Cindy says, hello and happy Thursday all. Cindy, happy Thursday to you. So fabulous to see you. Let's see, what else happened this week? Oh, I got to meet with another one of our amazing authors, Cheryl Reed. She wrote Map of My Escape. And Cheryl actually has a background in actually writing book reviews, and has a long history of public relations. And we were actually talking about the process of an author hiring a publicist, which honestly, for me, it was a really great conversation. I hope she gained value from it. More so because in today's world, publishers are all over the place in terms of the kinds of public relations and support that they provide to their authors. And, so much of what we see now is based on innuendo, right? It's based on like some meme that we saw, or maybe we had a friend who worked with a publicist and they provided this kind of services, or maybe we got a publisher and they provided or wouldn't provide certain services. And even the services that are provided by publicists today are so greatly varied. It can really be not only confusing, but it's very difficult to figure out like what's normal. So it was kind of cool for me to sit down and have a talk with one of our authors who's been in the industry for like 20 plus years and hear from her, how things have evolved or changed over the years. So, and it helped me better understand some of the interactions I've had with some of our authors' publicists, I want to say in the last couple of years. Because when I actually, one of the first publicists that I interacted with, I was shocked because they were asking me to do like, so when are you going to send out like press releases, and when are you going to do like various marketing campaigns? That it was my understanding the author's publicist handled those kinds of things. And I was trying really hard not to be rude and say, but isn't everything you're saying to me, isn't that why they hired you? Like, what are you going to do? Like, why are they paying you decent money for you to work on their behalf and for you to be focused on their specific work? But I clearly didn't do that. But it was what was fascinating to me was when I was talking to Cheryl, she mentioned that back in the day, what major publishers would do is they had on staff publicists. And when an author would hire a publicist, that publicist would then partner with the publisher's publicist, and they would come up with like a more holistic campaign. And basically the author's publicist, if I understood this correctly, what they would do is in essence fill in any gaps that from what the publisher was going to provide. And then that for me was like, okay, a lot of these exchanges make a lot more sense, because like when I've gone around and I've talked to small publishers and mid-sized publishers, and then like I also talked to quite a few authors who are with major publishers and asked them, what does your publisher do, right? because I want to better understand, like, where are our gaps. And just as a FYI, guys, we are actually currently in the middle of bringing on board a couple of resources to do anything from sending out our newsletter so that we really get the word out about all of our authors, to updating the website, to possibly writing press releases and distributing them on our behalf, things like that. Again, it is a little bit more of a broad stroke. So it would be like, here's the books that are coming out in the month of June. And, this is what happened in the past month with these amazing authors that we have, things like that. But it would give a broader reach, and it would enable us to have so much more publicity for our authors and for our pre-existing fans, which is phenomenal, right? But anyway, so what was cool was when I was talking, and I mentioned this to Cheryl, like, well, when I was, I did all this research, and from what I understand, most of the major houses, unless you're a known entity and you can prove that you have a following, they're not gonna go out of their way they're not gonna assign you a publicist, right? They're gonna give you like the bare minimum. And in today's market, almost all major authors, they have their own publicists, right? Like they at least the guys that I spoke to, the women that I spoke to, had mentioned that when they first came out with a major house, they actually hired a publicist for the first couple of times, because they knew, they wanted it to have a bigger splash. They wanted it to have a broader reach. And so, they knew the only way they were going to get it was to actually have that dedicated publicist. So I knew that was still true, right? Like a lot of these major players, they have assistants, they have publicists they regularly work with, and now that they are more significant in the publishing world, they are getting more backing by their publishers. But that was not necessarily so when they first started. And I also knew from doing some homework that, a lot of mid and small presses, they do in some cases more than what the larger publishing houses had offered. So, it's so all over the place. And, we actually, like I personally do hire publicists for my own work. And again, it's so all over the board. I mean, there are a million different ways that you can package various forms of publicity and marketing. And, a lot of it comes down to like word of mouth. Who do you really gel with? Who do you really work well with? All that kind of thing. So anyway, all that said, I actually learned a lot from talking to Cheryl from more of like a behind the scenes perspective, which I just thought was fabulous. So, Caroline says, when do you decide when to send one in after they are released? Caroline, I think your question goes back to the me talking about the National Book Award, but I'm not sure because I'm trying to follow a stream. It's a little out of context for me. But sorry, I'm going back and reading a little bit. So when we decide to send books in for different awards, honestly, in some cases, it's somewhat opportunistic. Oftentimes, we won't know if a book is good for a different award until it's fully packaged, right? And then we have a better sense of the final product and where we believe the final product would do well. And so it has to do with timing of when the book awards are accepting submissions, And when the book itself comes out, there's just like a bevy of things that go into that decision making process. So let's see. Sorry, I'm like reading through the comments to looking for uh looking for questions. Yeah. So Caroline just confirmed. Yes, it was back to what I said about book awards. Thank you, Caroline. I appreciate your clarification. Um, in some, yeah, oftentimes, I mean, believe it or not, there are quite a few times when, as we're going through the editing process, the book really transforms. And it's once that transformation is done, once the author and the editor have agreed that they that this is it, that's usually when we have a decent idea of what ones we're gonna send in for awards. That said, oftentimes too, we'll get recommendations from the editor. So the editor, whoever that person may be, when the book is sent in to us, like here's the final copy, the editor may come back and say, oh my gosh, Lisa, this would be perfect for blah, right, award. And so we'll keep that in the back of our minds to then submit it later on. And sometimes it actually, the author may come to me and ask if we would submit it for different awards. And we do that all the time as well. You know, if the author comes to us and says, hey, I've always wanted this, can you arrange for like the Shirley Jackson Award, which is another very popular award. And as long as we have, there's a venue, there's a portal, there's some way for us to actually send in that nomination, we are absolutely more than happy to do so. There's only been a couple times when an author has come to me and said, I would love this. Can you make it happen? And I politely said no. One was we had an author who had always been a fan of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Scooby-Doo van. So it's a van that literally has like the colors and promotion for Scooby-Doo, the cartoon, on the side of it. And they wanted us to hire a van and have their cover put on the van and have it reference like, the publication date. And I was like, you do know that you're talking, like, this is pricey. Like, this is not something that it just happens. And they were like, it's okay. I know you can take care of it. And I was like, yeah, no, I mean, we really could hire, or rather, the author could hire a whole publicist team for the price of doing something like that. So yeah, a lot of this too is you've got to be realistic about what your asks are. And the another thing that this actually comes up pretty regularly. We have authors who will come to me and they've done a lot of homework and they've already done a ton of marketing. They've gone to all their contacts. They've asked their contacts like, hey, I'd love it if you'd pick up my book, or would you pre-order it? And all their pals are coming back and saying, oh yeah, I pre-ordered it, blah blah blah. And then they come to me and ask, oh my gosh, I should have like hundreds of pre-orders. And I'll check and there's, maybe 10. Now, I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, all my friends are a bunch of losers. They lied to me, they didn't pre-order my book, blah, blah, blah. I got to tell you, you don't want to use the report that I get as a means of really understanding how many pre-orders you have. And this is why. The way that pre-order report works is we may not actually get, or not just the pre-order, but any kind of sales report, we may not actually get a sale reported to us until it can be 60 to 90 days after the actual sale, which sounds crazy, right? But a lot of that has to do with how quickly sales are necessarily reported back from the bookseller to the distributor and so on, right? And so that causes a delay. I mean, usually the delay, and this is true for ebook as well, because typically the reports come through once a month. So we may not find out about even like an ebook sale until a month later. So whenever you're talking to your publisher and you know they're reporting sales to you, really keep that in mind, that the sale, it may have occurred, it just may not be showing up yet on reports. The other thing to keep in mind is that a sale that I get, right? So because I'm getting sales reports from our distributor, what that means is I'm getting the reports of when a bookseller, like your favorite local bookshop, like a Mysterious Galaxy or a Book Soup or a Barnes and Noble, maybe, when they purchase books, the quantity of books that they purchased, and then that means that they have on hand, which is very different than your buddy going on Amazon and ordering a single copy. And on top of all this, Amazon actually, I don't know if they're continuing to do this, but they did this for a while. They were pre-buying, like, you know, I don't know, 10 copies, 20 copies, so they had it on hand. In theory, so there's a more immediate turnaround, because Amazon is known for having that more immediate turnaround. But what was happening is they were ordering such large quantities of copies, and because they don't actually keep a lot in their warehouses, that if the book did not sell out, they would then return, like within, you know, 3 months or whatever. The warehouses basically purge. So that seller, so Amazon, again, I think they do it every like 3 or 4 months. They'll return almost all the books that hadn't been sold yet in the last like 3 to 6 months, versus your smaller bookseller. The smaller booksellers, what they do is, you know, they'll buy so much to have on hand. And they usually purge once a year. Usually it's in January, or it's actually, I want to say, like between February, March timeframe. And again, they'll keep a couple on hand, but it's like if they had, you know, ordered, you know, 40 copies, they only sold 10, they have 30 now. Well, they know they're most likely not going to sell those additional 30 if they hadn't sold in that previous year. So they'll most likely return them. And especially if they're not seeing a lot of demand. So when I say, you know, like, well, the sales that we see, I'm talking about that 40 that your favorite bookseller bought so that they have it on hand. And then when I'm talking about a return, a lot of times of what I'm really talking about is when that bookseller then returns that 30 because they, or you know, 25 or whatever it is, but the larger amount of books, because they realize they're not going to sell it in the immediate. And they keep a couple, again, they'll keep a couple on hand, but they're not going to keep that larger number. So when you get those, again, when you get these reports from your publisher, really keep that in mind, because of course, ironically, we'll get the return reports within that immediate, like almost immediately, you know, versus the sales report. And so it can be disheartening when you see, oh my gosh, you know, like this says I sold 400 copies, but then, you know, like 350 were returned. Well, you may have actually sold more than 400. It's just that we don't know this yet because the report hasn't come through. So again, you know, just these are just things that if you're an author, or actually you're a reader, or you're a friend or a buddy or someone who you care about sells books, or is a publisher or is an author, things to keep in mind. Rod says, I guess I'm trying to say that an author needs to realize their work isn't over when they get a publisher. Their book is released. Their book has been out for a while. It's a career, and we should never stop. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. We actually have a board of advisors, and we've and they're amazing, amazing men and women who've been in the industry for far longer than me. And we actually had a really uh, fabulous group conversation in the last couple weeks around actually going back to the whole marketing and publicity thing, where it really makes a book successful. It's not just the publisher doing work; it's the author doing work, and really both partnering on getting the word out for that story or for that novel or memoir or whatever it is. And I really do think it's critical that you treat it like a partnership, instead of like throwing something over the fence and just saying, here you go, have at it, on both cases, right, for both the publisher as well as the author. uh, I personally, I love that we have quite a few authors who've been with us for a long time, and I think a lot of it is that they really value the relationship they have with their editor. And I think they value, at least based on conversations I've had with various individuals, they value their relationship with us, in a broader context, because we really do try to make sure everyone feels like, I mean, because we're all family here, right? And we're all here to make sure and to help each other succeed and obtain our objectives. So. Caroline says, so complex. What it amounts to is we have no idea how many sales are going for some time. Patience, patience. Yeah, that's basically it. Again, you'd be surprised at the number, even though we do send out sales reports. Again, we're getting additional resources onboarded to help us ensure that we're sending it out on a monthly basis. But I mean, I've literally had authors send me emails saying, I got this report and I just cried, because it wasn't what they had expected it to be. And I mean, even if you know all of this in the background, like even with that information that we do provide, obviously, quite regularly, sometimes it's heartbreaking to see that, when, if you've done a ton of work and you've really spread the word, and you've got all your buddies telling you that, oh yeah, of course I bought it, of course I pre-ordered, or or you've gone to tons of conferences or festivals or speaking engagements, or you've done all the Amazon ads you can think of and Goodreads and all that, and still you're not seeing high numbers. The reality is you really never know um, what the results are going to be. You never know what's going to take. I was actually talking to a dear friend, and he's a huge best-selling author. And up until uh, a few months ago, all or not a few months ago, for about a year before a few weeks ago, every single one of his books had earned out and he was getting royalties on, except one. And it was one that, when he talked to fans, they would just gush over how much they loved it. I mean, and it was a standalone. He does a lot of series as well. And so, when he'd get this report that it hadn't earned out yet, he was just like, I don't like, it's so weird, right? Because the book had come out, a couple of years prior. And typically his stories earn out pretty quickly. So he said, you know what? All of a sudden, after like a year or more of it just not having earned out, and for those who are not familiar with the terminology earn out, what that means is when you are with us, like a more standard, I guess you could say, publishing house, they'll pay you out an upfront, right? And typically the upfront is based on an analysis of based on your uh excuse me uh how well people know who you are, where you are how many fans you have, how many books you've sold, all of that kind of thing. And then looking at the story that they've acquired from you, and saying, okay, how well does this kind of story typically sell? Performing that type of analysis, they will then pay you an upfront amount, right? Anywhere, it could be $500, it could be $10, it could be $100,000. I don't know, right? But that amount is it's basically, that is the flag of, this is how much we think the book will make. And so, that's your earn out. And then once you've it's earned out, right? It's sold, it's made that much money, basically. I'm oversimplifying it, by the way, but we'll just say it that way. Then that's when you start getting royalties. So that's another area where I know a lot of authors, are like heartbroken because they don't get royalties, and they're like, I don't understand. How could this not have earned out? And, it's really understanding the complexities behind how you even get to the point of getting to royalties. But anyway, so back to my friend. So what had happened was, all of a sudden, this one book, that the standalone that he had written a year or two ago, it suddenly, not only did it earn out, he suddenly got a royalty check for like a couple $1,000s. And he was like, what? Like, I don't understand. Why did this suddenly sell really well? And it goes back to the, you never know when it's going to take, right? You never know when all of a sudden people are going to discover a book that you wrote, and tell their friends who tell their friends who tell their friends, and it just cascades. So you've got to really just stay prominent, stay focused, and do whatever you can. And honestly, and this is just for me personally, I think you've really got to do this because you're passionate about it. You love telling stories. Not that you're not doing it to make money, but that you're realistic when you're talking about earnouts and making money associated with the books. Because there will come a time when you are, you're doing well. You just, again, you need to be focused and understand what your goals are. What is it that you're after? And you tailor your activities and even the writing and the types of writing that you're focused on to ensure that you can achieve those goals. So Rod says, section, chapter, scene, mid-scene. What is the tightest cut that an author can make, switching point of view characters without head hopping? Oh, head hopping. I think it's supposed to be head hopping. I've studied books, articles, videos, have found vague answers. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Rod, because that's going to be dependent on the author's style. Also remember, books like Tolkien wrote entire universes where, he was inside the heads of characters, a variety of characters throughout the piece. A lot of it is it's setting context. You don't have to only be in one character's head in one chapter. You can write within a broader context of that universe. It's just you have to be consistent in whatever way that you're doing it, and you're consistent in the style that you're leveraging for that. So when it becomes overwhelming to a reader is when you're not consistent, right? So like, let's say, actually, so I'm currently editing a short story collection, and there's one short story where the author was consistently in one character's head, and then all of a sudden just has one section where that's in the head of the I guess you could say the antagonist. And that's when a reader says, wait, what the hell? why am I suddenly here? This doesn't make any sense to me. And then it hops right back into the protagonist's perspective. So it's not so much that there's a rule around, you can only be in one character's point of view for a chapter or a section or a scene or what have you. It's that you set up whatever style it is that you're going to leverage throughout the work, and you are consistent in that methodology. So a lot of times I actually recommend authors to go back and study your favorite authors and see the techniques that they leverage. And honestly, by doing that, it makes you much more aware of if they do more so first person perspective, second person, which is unusual, third person close, third person broad, more of like a universal lens, which is what I'm talking about when I'm talking like a Tolkien narrative. It's more of a universal lens. So it's really just having that consistency. Rod just said thank you for that. Oh, I mean, totally my pleasure. And a lot of times too, I really think there's a lot of value in, especially when you're an up and coming writer, in going to like workshops and conferences that are more so focused on craft, because you can learn oftentimes just as much by your fellow participants as you can by the workshop leader, because everybody's coming in with a different background and a different perspective and different techniques that they lean on. It also will make you more aware of what techniques you personally lean on, because oftentimes we are subconsciously we are writing in a similar style as our favorite authors, or maybe a book that we just read, and you've kind of triggered or remembered different techniques that author used, and all of a sudden you're using it and you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds brilliant. And then it's like, well, wait a minute, that's not really my voice. And actually, a friend of mine talked about this at Superstars Writing, where I was back in January, February, and how a lot of times they'll write something that they're like, oh my God, that sounds absolutely brilliant. And then they'll copy it and paste it into Google to see if it comes up. And sometimes it does, right? And they realize, oops, I just quoted my absolute favorite author, or this writer that I've recently discovered. So Rod says, you have so much free time. You should do an online workshop. You're a great teacher. Well, thank you, Rod. I actually used to do a writer's workshop series. I actually just spoke at Apex Writers about how to build your personal brand. Guys, Apex Writers are absolutely amazing. If you guys want to join a writers group, I definitely recommend them. They bring in a bevy of speakers to talk regarding a variety of topics. Let me see if I can find their website. Really, really good people. And definitely something, a group that you should check out. And I'm going to put their link into the chat so that you guys can go and check them out. Very, like I said, really cool people. Definitely worth joining, connecting with, and so on. And on a related but not directly topic, I am going to be at WonderCon starting tomorrow afternoon. And so for those who are not familiar, WonderCon is it's related to it's a Comic-Con in sometimes it's in San Diego. This year it's in Anaheim, California. And at WonderCon, that I believe technically starts tomorrow morning at like 9 or 10 o'clock, something like that. I will be interviewing Jonathan Mayberry. I'm very honored to be there. It's it's just a spotlight on Jonathan. And so I will be asking him whatever questions you guys may have. I have put a call out across Twitter and Facebook, and I believe LinkedIn, that if anybody has any questions that they specifically want me to ask him, just let me know. I'm more than happy to. And also same here. So if you guys are watching this and it is not yet Friday, March 29th at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, then go ahead and pop the question that you would like me to ask Jonathan in the chat. And I will do my best to absolutely get your question answered. And then if you're not at WonderCon, which is all good, my friends, then what we'll do is I'll be sure to come back to you with any of the responses that Jonathan may have had. So it should be a really good time. I've only heard fabulous things about WonderCon, and I'm really, like I said, I'm really, really looking forward to it. Another thing, actually, while we're talking about stuff going on, I know I had talked about the fact that I was going to be in an upcoming Weird Tales. Well, the official announcement went out that my story is going to be one of, several. Just absolutely, I'm just so honored to be in this edition of Weird Tales, including occult mysteries, occult detectives, because I mean, some of the authors that I am completely blessed to be in this edition with are the likes of Frankie Corzo, Scott Aiello, Simon Vance, Hillary Huber, Zora Johnson, Heather Miller, Mark Thompson, Kyla Garcia, Joel Frumkin, Robert Fass, Bronson Pinchot, Eric Dove, Kevin Kennerly, Andrea Ems, Robin Miles, Sarah Mallow Christensen, Tim Campbell, Kevin Anderson, and a dear friend of mine, Taylor Grant, who I absolutely adore. So, guys, you've got to check this out. I mean, this is going to be amazing. Absolutely amazing. I actually have already ordered or put in my advanced copies for like 4, because I figure I may end up reading this so many times. I'm going to wear one edition out that I'm going to have the additional copies. But I mean, I'm so excited. And I actually, what's so cool about this is I will be introducing a brand new character who is an occult detective, and you're going to learn a lot about the world. Well, I wouldn't say you're going to learn a lot about the world of Cure, but she exists within the world of Cure, and it'll give you a completely different perspective as to the lycanthropes and how they interact with humans in this murder mystery. So definitely check it out. It is just going to be a ton of fun. Wow. It is almost, we only have like 15 minutes left, guys. Like, holy moly. This is insane. Okay, so don't forget, if you are watching this and it is not between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time or 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday, March 28th, it is all good. Just go ahead, pop your questions into the comments section. And as I mentioned before, we always check the comments section throughout the week, and I will be more than happy to answer any kinds of questions that you may have. And typically it's me and a few of our editors. In reality, what we're also going to be doing is I have started to invite our authors to join us as well. So it would be kind of cool for you to get a variety of perspectives, not just the perspective of the editor or editors, but also that of the authors. So a lot of fun stuff coming down the pike. Rod says, your background rocks. Is that the cover of your sequel to Cure? Yep, absolutely. So this in the back behind me is the cover to the upcoming novel Family Pack, which is the sequel to Cure. And it will be coming out on October 2nd, I believe. When you search on it, you may find it under my name, Lisa Diane Kastner, but you may also find it under my pen name, Callie Metis, which I had been using pretty frequently. Here is a link so that you can pre-order it if you so choose. As I said, so far, all the feedback that I've gotten from readers, like my beta readers and those who do blurbs, it's just been fantastic. Very, very positive. We also have coming out, we're going to be having an anthology of short stories based on the world of Cure, written by a variety of really, awesome, awesome authors. It's called Uncurable. And that, I believe, is coming out next year. So look for that. Sorry, I'm doing a quick search because I want to get you. I prefer giving links to like bookshop.org because the proceeds go to small bookshops versus the larger chains, because I did put Walmart in here. So I'm going to give you a link to bookshop.org. And again, no pressure, guys, but if you want to check it out, all of the feedback so far has been super positive. Also be aware, we are doing our own audiobooks now. We already have 20 audiobooks from our more recent past and upcoming titles that are already out to market. And what I am looking for, they're all on Audible. Just do a search on Audible. You should find the audiobooks for the majority of our books that were published in 2023 this year. And right now I'm working on finalizing this year and starting on next year's audiobooks. So excited that we finally can get these to you in ebook, paperback, and audio. Just very, very exciting. Rod says, I'm sorry for not being more of a help tonight. I just didn't want to bring my unrelated snarky thoughts to the show. Rod, you're always welcome. It's no big deal. Teha asks, do you voice audiobooks? It's funny. Someone had asked me that before, because back in the day, I did used to do voiceover work. I do not do the voices for our audiobooks. We actually do hire narrators who take care of that. And the way we do it is we get auditions for each book and then send the auditions to the authors to get the authors' take on what voices they thought were most effective in kind of bringing forward what they were looking for within the book. So, and then we basically take it from there. Margaret says, are you still still partnership with the literary agency? Yes, we are still partnering with the Seymour Agency for getting our stories licensed for anything from translation to TV, film, and so on. We actually have a team now that's focused on licensing efforts. And so what they basically do is they go through and look through our catalog, and they prep a ton of materials for us to have that can eloquently and succinctly bring forward the narrative, why the narrative rocks, why there's a big market for it, and who that market might be. And so that can be brought forward to whoever would be interested in licensing, whether it's a producer or a studio or, again, an overseas publisher or what have you. Um, do you need anyone to read audiobooks? Oh my God, you're so cute. Well, honestly, we typically get a pretty decent number of submissions for our audiobooks. Each one is very different. We have had a couple of cases where the author elected to uh, do their own voice work. In the cases that at least that I'm aware of, they all had actually voiceover backgrounds, so it wasn't foreign. Like, it didn't sound like someone was struggling through a piece of work, because they knew how to use their voice and how to project and how to enunciate and so on. Cindy says, thanks, a lot of great info tonight. Completely my pleasure. I mean, that's the whole point of us doing this, is really to get you guys as much information that is helpful for you, or that you may be curious about. Elizabeth says, do you ever make your anthologies into audiobooks? Yes, actually we do. We currently have our Red Flags anthology right now is currently in the middle of the production process. So that definitely, I'm just looking to see if we have any of them that are done. I must admit, we do tend to focus more so on single author works to be going to audiobook, just because sometimes some authors, the voices within the anthology are so widely varied that a narrator may have difficulty in feeling like they're being effective in presenting them. So that's why we more so lean on the single author works. That said, I am starting to more so just bring in, put forward all of the publications that we have for that year to audiobook, because, why not? So I'm getting a few people pinging me saying, can I audition for an audiobook? Of course you can. We actually use the ACX platform for all of our auditions. So what I suggest is just, sign up for it as a narrator and then, look for something that you're interested in. Taya says, why? I think you have a wonderful voice. Does the motivation to get a narrator is to help increase the sale of books? Oh my God, you're so sweet. Well, one is it takes time to properly narrate a book. I actually did. I had one or two pieces that we were having a little challenges with, and in terms of finding a narrator that we thought would work well. And so we were thinking of, it was inquired if I would do it. And I said, you know what, I would be happy to, but, why don't we keep going? Because most books, I mean, you're talking about like a 60 to 80,000 word work is usually, I think it's typically like 6 to 8 hours, like finished hours of audiobook, which from someone receiving it, it's fabulous, right? Like, who doesn't want to listen to an audiobook while you're working out or going for your walk or driving or whatever? But if you have limited time and you want to make sure it's a really good quality, like I do, I haven't done that kind of work in a while. Plus, actually, funny side story, a dear friend of mine I grew up with, she had asked me if I would do some audio work for her, and I was like, yeah, sure, all good. And this was, I'm going to say, like 10 years ago. So I go in and I go into the studio and they give me the copy and I read the copy, and I'm thinking I'm reading the copy just like, straight, as if I'm talking to a friend. And the producer of it, he's like, we'll try this, we'll try this, we'll try this. And then out of nowhere, he says, okay, look, stop trying to sound sexy, or stop sounding sexy. And I was like, stop sounding sexy? I'm not trying to sound sexy. how do I'm just talking the way I normally talk. And then, but he was serious. So I don't think they ever used it. I just thought it was funny because I was like, I didn't know that I was trying to do that. Which reminds me of when, so my father was a radio personality and he did tons of audio work, obviously. And there was a point where I forget, he was being interviewed by someone and they were asking him like why they thought, he was popular or whatever, or got the gigs he did. And he says, well, I believe it's because of my incredibly natural on-air voice. And I'm obviously imitating my father. So I just sat there and I'm listening to this interview and I thought, dude, you never, other than like when we're at home and he's, like chatting with me. But I didn't think at least his on-air voice sounded like, just like talking to his bestie. I thought he always had the radio personality voice going on. So anyway. Wow. Okay. So we only have 4 minutes left, guys. Any questions? Like I said, go ahead, pop it in the chat. Don't forget, I'm at WonderCon this weekend. I will be there actually Friday and Sunday. I won't be there Saturday just because I do have a crap ton of work to do, but I will be there Friday and I will be there Sunday. Excuse me. Again, don't forget Friday, I'll be interviewing Jonathan Mayberry, 2:30 p.m. Come hang out with us. It's called Spotlight on Jonathan Mayberry. Again, it's at the Anaheim Convention Center for WonderCon. And then on Sunday, I will be at the Writers Coffee House at WonderCon, and that is going to be from 12:30 to 2:30 p.m. Come and join us. Both promise to be just an absolute blast. And I'm just looking to see if I don't think I'm scheduled to be anywhere else too soon after that. Looks like let's see. I think the next time after that, other than obviously here and when we do our Writers Coffee House. Oh, I will be at the festival, the LA Times Festival of Books. And that is on Sunday, April 21st. We actually are going to have a table there. So you should come and hang out with us. It's definitely going to be me and minimally one of our amazing leaders, Joelle, who are going to be hanging out at the LA Festival of Books, doing things like, handing out a little promo packs or what have you, to really get the word out about our fantastic authors and the amazing books that are coming out this year. And by the way, this year alone, we're publishing like 32 books. I was like, oh my God, we've lost our minds. And next year we've already staged it to publish, I think it's like 42 or 45 books. So our guys, we are cranking it, man. We are really making it happen. And I just want to thank you guys, as always, for being such incredible support and just so amazing, amazing parts of our family and our extended family. We love all of you guys. You're all just fabulous. Okay. With that, you've got me for all of a minute. If you think of anything, guys, just go ahead, toss it in the chat. And again, if you're watching this and it is not Thursday between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern, go ahead and pop your question in the chat anyway, because we're always checking. We're always looking. We are here for you guys. Okay? Awesome. All right. Well, with that, I guess that's it. So love you guys. You're all amazing. Thank you, Rod. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, everyone. Everyone. Oh, and by the way, even if you don't have a question, just say hi. Just toss in just toss a quick hi in the chat. And so we know you're there. We love you guys, and I will see you next time. Ciao.